Howdy, I'm here to interview the 44th President of these United States, Barack Hussein Obama, to get a little look-see into that nine of his and see what makes him tick. I'm not very analytical, you know. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about myself and why I do things, but I'm sure Mr. Obama does. So let's get started. Howdy, Mr. President.
Hello.
1 minute, one thing before we get started. I just need to take care of something important. So, let's get started. When and where were you born?
I was born August 4th, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Can you tell me a little bit about your parents?
Well, my mother, Stanley Ann Dunham, was born in Kansas as an only child. She was named Stanley after her father. She moved around the country frequently with her family because her dad sought better jobs. Anyways, my father, Barack Obama Sr., was born from Kenya, born a member of the Luo tribe in a place called Alego. As a boy, he tended goats on his father's farm, and he was a domestic servant to the British. Later in his life, he became the first African student to go to the University of Hawaii. This is where he met my mother, and after a short courtship, they were married. Unfortunately, my parents separated when I was 2 years old and later divorced.
Really? Why?
Well, my father abandoned my mother and me when he went to Harvard. As a result, they divorced.
Did you ever see your dad after going through the Big D? And I don't mean Dallas.
Yes, he was in a car accident and came for a month-long visit in the hospital after my mother remarried. He criticized me for watching too much television and not studying enough. Since I saw him as a stranger, the visit was awkward and uncomfortable.
Your mother remarried?
When I was 6, her new husband's name was Lolo Soetoro, and he was a student from the University of Hawaii. In some ways, he was the antithesis of my father. For example, when he decided to move back to his homeland, Indonesia, he took us with him instead of leaving us behind.
So I'm wondering what you were like as a teenager.
At that time, I was in a rebellious stage. I didn't focus on school and I experimented with harmful drugs. I didn't know what I was aiming for in my future.
So what finally knocked some sense into you?
In college, I was still a callow youth, but my friends started to mature. They called me unappreciative for wasting my parents' money for college. I began to fulfill my full potential.
So what things are most important to you about cleaning up Bush's mess? I mean, improving this great country of ours?
Well, I want to focus on the war in Iraq, the environment, the economy, and education. The war in Iraq was started under false pretenses, and I voted against it. Unfortunately, my predecessor saw it differently, and we have wasted over $650 billion so far, and thousands of lives. Regarding the environment...
Oh, hold on a minute. Didn't W say, I just want you to know that when we talk about war, we're really talking about peace. That makes the war strategizing seem pretty smart-like, don't you think?
No, not really. Anyway, it's imperative that we promote a green economy based on renewable energy sources, so that we both reduce pollution and carbon emissions, as well as build a sustainable future.
Now, Mr. President, as President Bush once said, it isn't pollution that's harming the environment, it's the impurities in our air and water that are doing it.
Right. And it's not guns that kill people, bullets do. But moving on, I also believe that education must be a top priority, as our children and some of our former leaders have fallen behind the rest of the world. We must empower our teachers and build a highly educated and skilled workforce.
Yeah, and as our former president once said, rarely is the question asked, is our children learning?
Well, lastly, we must bolster our failing economy with a stimulus plan that focuses on building up the middle class with high-paying green tech jobs. By providing tax cuts to the middle class and repealing tax breaks to corporations that move jobs overseas, I will create prosperity within our nation and start us back on the road to recovery. We will also make long overdue investments in our infrastructure that will create jobs now and pay dividends later.
That makes a lot of sense, because if we don't succeed, we run the risk of failure.
That does make sense.
And another question, your name is not very common.
That's not really a question, but I agree. My name is very unfortunate based on the recent incidents in our world.
Of course, I mean, just look at it. Your first name's Barack, which rhymes with Iraq. Your middle name's Hussein, just like Saddam Hussein. And your last name is Obama, which reminds me of Osama bin Laden.
Yes, I realize that. Thank you.
I mean, it's like someone was trying to send you a message. Have you ever thought of being a terrorist? It would work just so perfect.
I think I'm going to go now.
Oh, well, thank you for your time, Mr. President. I don't hope you fail. So that went well. Got a new president with new ideals, a new direction, and I think I might be getting myself a new raise.